vinyl community, Beach Boys fans, random people on the internet. My name is Giggens, and we are here today to talk about the Beach Boys' 1979 album, Light Album, or L.A. I have a lot to say about this album. First off, this came out during one of their most strenuous periods as a group. They weren't even getting along with each other at this point. They were literally falling apart. 78 and 79 were some of the worst years for this band. Oh man, let's just start at the beginning. They put out the MIU album, which if you saw my review about that, that's kind of a stinker. They went out on tour. They did this Australian tour. And it was billed as like, you know, this is going to be the biggest money-making thing Australia's ever seen. It's going to be this giant deal. And they did it. They got through it, but not without punch-ups, Carl being so drunk he was falling off the stage and having to apologize to Australian audiences, fights going on. I mean, it got to the point where Mike and Al were traveling separately from Carl and Dennis, to the point where Mike and Al were called the mediators and Dennis and Carl were called the free lovers because they were doing drugs and Mike and Al weren't doing drugs. They were the clean people. And they got through the Australian rigmarole, this awful time. They got through it. They reconvened to do this meeting where they basically were going to renegotiate a contract with their new label, CBS, and get an idea of what they were going to do for their next album. Reportedly, it was for an $8 million contract, which is mind-blowing because at this point they'd gone through several labels. Labels were kind of scared of them because they weren't selling. Like, their concert draws were doing really well. Like, as a live band, they were selling pretty well, but their albums just weren't cutting it. And every time they came out with a new contract, they always had to say that, you know, we want Brian to be involved like 70%. He needs to promote it. He needs to produce it. He needs to co-write or write all the songs. I mean, it was like abusive to say that like they couldn't do anything without Brian. Like, here was a band that had proven themselves without him, but people still saw it as we need Brian Wilson. Anyways, at this point in time, Brian was in absolutely no shape to produce an album, let alone go outside on his own or live a normal life. He was newly divorced, going through a divorce, living on his own in a little tiny crappy house, and doing a bunch of drugs and drinking a lot of alcohol. And Steve in Love, Mike's brother, and this guy Rocky Paplin, were like his minders, making sure he didn't die or kill himself or get run over when he ran out of his house. I mean, there was one point apparently where he left his house for days in his bathroom, wandering LA looking for drugs. I mean, it got so bad that they actually did admit him to a hospital. They put him in this place called Brotman Memorial Hospital. And he stayed there for a little while, and he just played piano and drank like a ton of coffee and wrote songs with some of the inmates there. Patients, not inmates. And he was in a really bad place. And so when this meeting came up saying like, hey, this is what's got to happen, Mike wasn't even there. He was at a meditation retreat and had his brother Steve sign for him, which later on came back to bite everybody in the ass because Mike said that I didn't do that. Steve said you did. It was this giant rigmarole. It was with David Frost of, you know, like Frost versus Nixon fame. And basically he was saying, look, the Australian tour was great, you know, but you guys got to kick drugs. You got to get rid of these people who are giving you drugs. And it just went downhill from there to the point where Carl started speaking up for himself and got punched in the face by Rocky. It was awful. I mean, their personal lives were falling apart. Like Dennis and his wife, who was on and off again, Karen Lamb, they were at a point where they were fighting so much that at one point Karen pulled a gun on him, and like she got locked out of the studio one time, and she threw a brick through the window, and then they kept the brick there and called it the Karen Lamb Memorial Brick. I mean, like, it was awful. Carl's marriage was going down the tubes because of his drug abuse. Brian had a new girlfriend, which was basically his caretaker, and he brought her to meetings, and people were confused about that. It was just a mess. So they got together, they got this meeting organized where they were going to sign a new contract. They had this, like, we don't care attitude about making music because they don't want to be with each other. They made an album, they gave it to the CBS people, and CBS was like, this sucks, not going to pass, go back, do it again. And they kind of felt like, alright, yeah, I guess we did kind of, like, not really care too much. They went back, they did it again, and they played the album for Walter Yetnikoff, the president of CBS, who I'm going to use an expletive here, people. Um, Upon hearing the album, Walter Walter looked at his team and said, "I think I've just been fucked." Realizing that like he busted a whole lot of money into this group for an album that really had zero potential and zero marketability. I mean, this album really isn't that great. Um, it peaked at number 100 in America, and I think it peaked at number 32 in England, or 52 or 32, I can't remember, where the Beach Boys always did better. The song Lady Linda on this album was actually a top 10 hit in England, go figure. Good Timing, the one song off this album that actually did something on the radio, hit number 40. So it was a top 40 hit, but no one remembers it. Basically, the Beach Boys, it was Murphy's Law at this point. Like, you know, the MIU album happened, and really the tensions were so high, and that album just did not do anything. And then this album came out, and this doesn't even sound like a Beach Boys album. I gotta be honest, it doesn't even sound like a Beach Boys album. But I do want to do kind of a track-by-track analysis of this effort. Anyways, the first song on it is Good Timing, and that was the number 40, top 40 single. It's not a bad song, it just goes nowhere and does nothing for me. It's just this uninspired playing. The song dates back from a few years earlier, but nothing comes from it. I'm not feeling it. Lady Linda, the next song on the album, like I said, was a top 10 hit in the UK. It was a song Al wrote for his wife, and it's not bad. I mean, the chorus definitely sticks in your head. The ending part is really nice, where they come back to these like gang vocal harmonies. That's really not bad. It's not the best song on the album, but it's strong in terms of Al's songwriting. It's really not bad. Later versions of the song were called Lady Liberty after he got divorced. Full Sail, Carl sings this song, and it's like a really somber track, and again, this kind of goes nowhere. The ending part is kind of cool. Like there's like, I guess you can call it a bridge, or not a coda, but like I think a bridge, or kind of just a random part before it ends. That part's not bad. I feel like if it was written during the Holland album, it may have had more potential or magic or life in it, but overall, not doing anything for me. Angel Come Home, thank you, Dennis. Finally, the best song on the album so far. Dennis sings this Carl track, track that Carl wrote. As far as I can tell, it was about Carl's wife, Angel Come Home, because they were going through problems. But it's just so beautifully sung, and there's actually like conviction and confidence and some like oomph to it. Easily the best track on the album so far. Love Surrounds Me, another Dennis sung song. It was meant for his second solo album, Bamboo, but I think the Beach Boys were so strapped for songs, they just started taking things from wherever they can find them. It's a really groovy, seductive type track, really confident vocals against like a really minimal guitar and drum. Kind of a simple sounding song, but like the vocals enough carry the song on its own. Largely absent from this album is Mike Love's vocals. He's barely heard on this thing until you get to the next song, Sumahama. No. Just no. It's like Kokomo's grandpa. I'm just gonna skip that one. The next song, Here Comes the Night. Oof. This is a disco remix of the song, and I actually have a 45 of it, just to kind of show you what it looks like. This is a DJ promo copy. There's a short version and a long version, which both are equally as painful. They played it a couple of times live before audiences started like not giving a crap about it. It's atrocious, absolutely awful, and like a tease, because you're hearing this song that was from such a fantastic album. It's from the Wild Honey album that they're remaking into a disco track, and it's just terrible. I mean, everyone was jumping on the disco train at this point. The Stones did it with Miss You, Kiss did it with I Was Made for Loving You, and I guess the Beach Boys felt it appropriate to also do the same thing. Not the best choice. Um, it's just, it's so sad to hear a really great song ruined by trying to make it relevant. I mean, well, I forget, there was a Rolling Stone article or a Rolling Stone reporter who said something like, "This album's worse than bad. It's irrelevant." It's kind of true. We're just gonna move past that song because it's making my brain hurt. Baby Blue, it's another song that Dennis meant for his album Bamboo. Not bad. Carl and Dennis both sing it. It's pretty good background vocals. I think Brian might be there on that one. He's basically not on this album at all. And then Going South, this is a song that Carl sings. It's a really chill, kind of like meditative song about going somewhere else and looking for a different opportunity. And that may be a reflection of where he felt the Beach Boys were at that point, that he just wanted out. I know Dennis was feeling that way. At one point, Dennis did get kicked out for having a fight on stage or punching somebody, or Mike punched him. It's a mess. And the last song on the album, Shortened and Bread, another pointless addition to a pointless album. I don't know why this song is on here. It's almost like Do the Oz on John Lennon's Plastic Ono Band album. It's just kind of like, why? No amount of guitar shrieks or Carl's vocals can save this song from being what it is, and extraneous is the best word I can say. I know it's, arranged by Brian Wilson, but it's weird when you see that on paper, see the traditional arranged by Brian Wilson, you think Sloop John B or something. Shortened and Bread, I mean, this album has no flow, no sequencing that would make any sense. It doesn't sound like a Beach Boys album. Mike's barely on it, Al's barely on it. It kind of sounds like a Carl and Dennis solo album, but like if they didn't try. I mean, Brian's barely there at all, if at all. The instrumentation is completely lackluster and uninspired, and this is probably one of my least played albums. I almost think I would play Summer in Paradise over this album just because it's really not good. Here's the back cover. Yeah, that's kind of all I gotta say about this thing. It's more of a headache than anything. I mean, for the Beach Boys completists, you gotta have it, but I really wouldn't wish it on my enemies. Yeah, if I had to rate this album, honestly, I think I would give it probably a 2 or 3 out of 10. It's really not that good. It doesn't showcase the Beach Boys as the Beach Boys. It sounds like an obligation. It sounds like they had a contract to fulfill and got together and recorded a bunch of songs and put it out there, and that was it. This era was so troubling for them. Personally, professionally, career-wise, they were falling apart. I mean, it was just not a good time. And it shows. It really does show. They wouldn't have a strong album again for years. Maybe that's what got me the radio. I mean, after Beach Boys Love You, their albums go downhill pretty quickly, and this doesn't help. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, guys. I should mention that this album is produced by Bruce Johnson. He came back to the band because Brian was unfit to do it, and Brian called him and said, "Hey, I think we need you." And he came back to produce it, and he produced this and the next one, Keeping the Summer Alive. And he's been in the band ever since. Like nothing ever happened. And I think it was his idea to do Here Comes the Night as a disco song. So Bruce, come on, man, you're better than that. Anyways, I can't do this anymore. Oh god. My name is Giggens. This has been Album Reviews with the Beach Boys LA Light Album. Oh boy.